Welcome to the 2010 Preakness Stakes. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo, and I'm going to be previewing this Saturday's Preakness. We're going to talk about several horses that have serious contender possibilities on Saturday, and I'll try to lead you in the right direction. I officially won't be having my play till Saturday. You can check that out at pregamepros.com and see what I'm actually having on Saturday. But I'm going to try to preview things for you and head you in the right direction as we did in the Kentucky Derby. In the Kentucky Derby with our pregame.com podcast, we gave you two long shots to consider in the Derby, and those two long shots, actually, one of them ended up being my paid selection on Saturday, and he did finish second, Icebox, and he paid a nice price for place and show. In fact, wagering $100 across the board, that $300 investment returned $960 for a $660 profit. So let's see if we can do the same on Saturday. We're going to get things started. Super Saver was the horse that won the Kentucky Derby, and Super Saver took a lot of money on Kentucky Derby Saturday, as when the track came up muddy, as was expected, it rained all week in Louisville for the Derby. Super Saver took a lot of money from some wise guys, as Super Saver was one of the few horses that had already ran a race on a sloppy track and did perform well. So that was an advantage for Super Saver. And you accompany that with the trip that he got in the Derby, an absolutely perfect ride by Calvin Borel, living up to his name, Borel, as Calvin just finds his way to the wood all the time and managed to carve out a clean trip for Super Saver and got him the win in the Derby. Now the question looms as Super Saver goes for the second leg of the Triple Crown. Was the Derby a fluke? Was it the perfect trip? Or is this horse for real? We'll find that out on Saturday for sure. I will say this much: Super Saver's going to have a tougher time on Saturday. One, he'll be going a shorter distance. Two, he's going to have to work to get to the rail this week, coming from post position 8 and heading into that first turn at Pimlico. He does not want to get caught wide, and if he uses too much of the horse early to try to get to the lead quick and get to the rail, he may not have enough finishing kick to hold off the late charge from the other horses in the stretch. So a lot of questions with Super Saver, but going into this race, he is the horse to beat. But I'm going to talk about a few horses that I think have a shot of beating Super Saver. You got to start with Looking at Lucky, horse number 7. Looking at Lucky has been anything but lucky in his last two starts. This horse has had tremendous road problems 2 starts in a row. Santa Anita Derby, the horse was almost taken off his feet. Garrett Gomez had to grab the horse up and then get the horse started back up, lost all momentum, came hard charging to finish third in the Santa Anita Derby. What happens to him in the Kentucky Derby? Well, it was almost a replay of the Santa Anita Derby, as Looking at Lucky, breaking from post position 1, got buried down at the rail with the traffic as the horses from the outside were crossing over, and this horse got taken out of the race early, had to be checked up early in the race. Garrett Gomez once again in trouble, lost all momentum with the horse. Then when the horse did get going late, he got an opening. As he started to come down the stretch, he had to bob and weave all over the stretch at Churchill trying to find an opening. The horse had a lot of pace, but had a lot of road problems. I expect Looking for Lucky to make a step upwards. Now, the one factor about Looking at Lucky is because he did get 2 bad drives in a row from Garrett Gomez, trainer Bob Baffert has elected to fire Garrett Gomez, and he is making a driver change on Saturday. So that is a key. You would have to figure it's a step up, because although Garrett Gomez is a very good jockey, he cannot ride this horse any worse than Garrett Gomez has in the last 2 starts. Martin Garcia will be aboard Looking at Lucky on Saturday. Moving along to another horse that I feel is a serious contender, and he is a long shot, and that is number 6, Jackson Bend. Jackson Bend is a horse trained by Nick Zito. Nick Zito had the number 2 finisher in the Derby in Icebox, and he has elected not to bring Icebox to Preakness. I would figure he would point to the Belmont with Icebox with that 1.5-mile distance, but he's bringing Jackson Bend, and I find it intriguing because Jackson Bend had a horrible Kentucky Derby, never a factor in the race. I'm going to rule that race out and say that he didn't like the off track. And I've got to figure Nick Zito knows what he's doing. A horse coming off a poor performance in the Derby and coming to Preakness, they're ruling out that race as well. They're calling it a fluke. They're bringing the horse here. They worked this horse out on May 10th. Just 3 days ago. We're taping on Thursday. He went 4 furlongs in a blistering 46-3. Those of you that are not familiar with the horse world, the average is 12 seconds a furlong. This horse went 46-3, where normal would have been 48 seconds. This horse is sharp. I've got to respect the decision by Nick Zito to bring this horse to Pimlico. I look for a good effort out of Jackson Bend on Saturday. Nice long shot, number 6 to consider. Another long shot that I'm going to mention is the horse number 9, Caricato. And this horse did not race in the Kentucky Derby, but he did race in the Santa Anita Derby. And as I mentioned early on, Looking at Lucky had all kinds of problems in the Santa Anita Derby and still came on to finish 3rd. Well, Caricato had just as many problems as he was interfered with the same incident as Looking at Lucky, and was taken back even further. And he came on to finish 4th, right behind Looking at Lucky. If you think Looking at Lucky is a major player in this race on Saturday, then you've got to consider number 9, Caricato, as a contender as well on Saturday. This is one of the few horses that I like to term as a new shooter, a new face in the Preakness that does have a shot. So give some consideration to number 9. Rounding out the rest of the field, 2 other horses that you've got to take a look at. Patio Prado had a great race in the Kentucky Derby, finished 3rd. A lot of people were speculating that Kent DeSermo made a mistake in the stretch with Patio Prado, thinking that he had 2nd locked up and eased up on the horse a bit and quit riding on him, and that's what enabled Icebox, the fast closing horse on the outside. And there's no question when the 3 horses hit the wire, Icebox was moving the fastest of all, but he was coming from next to last and had a ton of ground to make up. So Patio Prado, you got to consider a factor in this race. However, being on the outside post at Pimlico, not a great place to be. He's going to have his work cut out for him. I might consider this horse on my underneath exactas and trifectas, but to win the race, I don't think he can pull it off. And the last horse I'll mention to you is Dublin, and the only reason I'm going to mention Dublin is Dwayne Lucas is the trainer, a Hall of Fame trainer, and he's picking up Garrett Gomez. Yes, the same driver that has been fired from Looking at Lucky. So you might have a highly spirited ride by Garrett Gomez, having something to prove after getting fired from the drive on Looking at Lucky. So there you have it, my Preakness preview. Again, the favorite going in is Super Saver. Somebody's got to knock him off that perch. Looking at Lucky does appear to be a horse that can do that. And Jackson Bend, number 6, a definite live long shot in the Preakness. So you have my early look at the Preakness. Be sure to go to pregamepros.com on Saturday to check out my plays. Just click on my homepage, Marco D'Angelo. You'll be able to see what I've got. Once again, thanks for watching. Enjoy the Preakness on Saturday.